After a controversial first day of the NFL draft, the Detroit Lions head into day two with some glaring needs and some very, very upset people. The Detroit Lions selected Tyleik Williams with the 28th overall pick, arguably the best pure run stopping defensive tackle in this draft class, as well as a player with great athletic upside and potential upside as a pass rusher as well. He profiles very similarly to Lee McNeil when he was coming out of NC State and really projects to be a very strong day one contributor for Detroit. But of course, there are going to be fans upset. Some fans are upset that they didn't select an edge rusher. Some fans are upset in particular that they didn't get Mike Green or Jaheed Campbell. And some fans are just upset for the sake of being upset. But with that being said, the Detroit Lions now have the opportunity on day two of the draft to go make a splash, to go get a quality edge rusher, to go get quality football players and make this team even better. And that's what we'll be taking a look at today. Some of the best players left on the board, some of the best fits left on the board, and what I think personally the Detroit Lions will do on day two. So, with that being said, let's kick it off with really the biggest positions of need, because there are a couple that, of course, stand above the rest, and a few that could be surprise selections at some point on days 2 or 3. Now, in tier one of the positional needs, edge rusher and offensive guard are the biggest ones. Those are the two positions you lost and really haven't been able to fill through free agency. And I do think both of these picks will be addressed at some point through the draft. Edge rusher likely in the second round, offensive guard potentially in the third round, but also potentially early in the fourth, depending on where their grades are with certain players. But I do think both of these positions will be addressed at some point in time pretty recently or pretty up and coming. I don't think they're going to wait till the 6th or the 7th round to address these picks because they are needs and they are depth concerns. But especially in the terms of offensive guard, I think they're okay waiting a year for a player to develop. Whereas with edge rusher, I think they need a player more immediately. In the tier 2 of needs, I think wide receiver is a big need behind both Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think cornerback is a need for 2026 and beyond. And then I think safety is a need as well, replacing a guy like Ifeatu Melifonwu. It's not an easy thing to do. I think they're looking for a player with good ball skills, with good range, who's versatile, but isn't going to be the top priority of the class. They have Brian Branch, they have Kirby Joseph. They missed Ifeatu Melifonwu for 14 games a season ago. They will be okay with just two safeties, but I think if at all possible, they will try to get a third safety to add to this core just to kind of fill it out, add some more depth, and really give them a lot of opportunities to be versatile in their defensive scheme. So with that being said, who are the best players left available? There were a lot of good first-round talents to fall through the draft, and many of them are still available. Will Johnson being the biggest one, projected to be a top 10 prospect in this class. There are concerns that his knee injury is chronic. If you're not aware, that is what ended Todd Gurley's career early with LA and Atlanta, and it is a very scary thing. It limits a player's career for long-term growth. It limits their ability to truly be healthy on the field, and if it is chronic, there's a chance that he will not play professional football at all. Now, with that being said, he will still be taken today. At some point in the second or the third round, somebody will take a chance on Will Johnson. Somebody will give him an opportunity to play football. And then it's going to come down to whether or not his knee can withstand the trauma. Mike Green fell to character concerns. Donovan Ezeraku fell because he's a one-dimensional pass rusher. Shavon Revel and Benjamin Morrison fell because of knee injuries as well, both tearing their ACLs at some point during the college football season. And Xavier Watts, I believe, fell just because he is a safety, and safeties don't typically go very high, but I do think he is a very good instinctual football player that will be drafted very early on day two when the value is appropriate. Taking a look at what every Detroit Lions fan wants to see, edge rushers. The edge rushing class is extremely deep. Both Mike Green and Donovan Ezeraku, players I had first-round grades on, are still available in the second round, along with Nick Scouton, who led the Big Ten in sacks 2 seasons ago with the Purdue Boilermakers, Landon Jackson, who has 13 sacks over the last 2 years at Arkansas, JT Tuimoloau, who's coming off 12.5 sacks and 22 TFLs at Ohio State, Jack Sawyer, who's coming off a national championship with 9.5 sacks at Ohio State, Josiah Stewart had 8.5 sacks last year, Princely Umanmiele is coming off an 11.5 sack year at Ole Miss. Kyle Kennard, I believe, had 8.5 sacks at South Carolina. Olujadu is a player that had 5 sacks a season ago at UCLA, but a lot of people really like him as a pass rusher. And then you have Braden Swinson, who had 8.5 sacks at LSU. You have Joshua Birch, who had 8.5 sacks at Oregon. And there are a lot of players. There are upwards of probably 12 14 edge rushers that I would feel comfortable drafting in the second round of the NFL draft. And the Detroit Lions picked 26, 28 picks into the second round. An edge rusher would have to go every other selection for the Detroit Lions not to get an opportunity at just one of these players. And the likelihood is with players like Will Johnson, with Siobhan Revel, with Benjamin Morrison, with some of the great running backs, and with Luther Burden, with some of the good guards in this class, they're going to have their pick of a number of these players. I wouldn't be surprised if half of these players were on the board when the Detroit Lions were up at 60, or if the Detroit Lions traded up in the second round to go get a player at the higher end of that class, like a JT Tuimoloau, like potentially even a Mike Green with the character concerns. There is still a lot of opportunity to draft a quality edge rusher, and that is why the Detroit Lions selected defensive tackle first. The defensive tackle class is significantly thinner and significantly weaker than the edge rushing class on days 2 and 3 of the class. There is no debate on what position is deeper and more needed by Detroit. But I think Tyreek Williams was the right pick. I'll go far more into depth after the draft is over because I think the entire scope of the draft class is important for that selection. But there are more quality edge rushers today than there are defensive tackles. Tyreek Williams was not making it to 60, and several of these edge rushers will. So with that being said, that is the take on the edge rushers. There are still a lot available, so do not panic if you are in the hype train of, oh, we need a top edge rusher. There are still many left available. Some of the sleeper options, I think Luther Burden III would be by far and away the best football player the Lions could select. A dynamic, versatile wide receiver with great yak ability would fit the Lions offense like a glove. There is no chance that he is there, but if for some reason he ends up falling to 60, or if the Lions end up trading up, he would be a fantastic selection, as well as Trey Harris, who's a little bit bigger, fills more of the Tim Patrick role, but I think could be a long-term option for your true X wide receiver. You have guys like Tate Radledge, as well as Jonah Savanier, two players that play guard that I think are good day 2 options as well to fill in for Graham Glasgow for long-term opportunities. And then I think if you really want to swing at a cornerback, guys like Trey Amos, Siobhan Revel, and AZ Thomas are great players and great fits for the system. Guys that play press man, that are super physical at the line of scrimmage, have good ball skills, and just overall are very, very good players. Now, in my opinion, I think the best fits available for the Detroit Lions are JT Tuimoloau, Josiah Stewart at the best fits. I think they're both really good run stoppers. I think their ability to stop the run is very strong, and their ability to get to the passer is also quite good. I think they are well-rounded players with high motors. They've both been connected to the Detroit Lions, Josiah Stewart more so than JT Tuimoloau. I think they're both really good players. They both are very healthy players. They are both Detroit Lions players, in my opinion, and I do think they will be on the roster if they are available. Luther Burden, Benjamin Morrison, Xavier Watts, Will Johnson, Siobhan Revel, and Mike Green are all players that I think will be gone well before the 60th overall pick. But if a trade up is within the realm of possibility, you could be potentially seeing a player like that to fill out the roster and really truly make a splash in the NFL draft. The bottom line is the NFL draft has so many quality players. The first round of the NFL draft is just 32 picks out of 256 players to draft and hundreds more to select in undrafted free agency. Day 2 of the NFL draft is where Brad Holmes found Brian Branch and Sam Laporta and Aleem McNeil. And on day 3, right, he found guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Day 2 is a guy like Ifeatu Melifonwu. There are lots of quality players left in this draft class. There are lots of quality edge rushers left in this draft class. So if you're on the hype train and you're upset that they didn't take an edge rusher, take a deep breath. The edge rushing class is extremely deep. It is very loaded in this round. This is where the value is for edge rusher. This is where the value is for defensive line. Tyreek Williams would not have been available at 60, but some of those edge rushers will be. And that is where the Detroit Lions will be successful. I think they'll take an edge rusher on day 2, whether it's at 60 or 102. And I do think by the end of the class, everybody will look at the Tyreek Williams pick as a lot more, lightly as far as grading the pick higher. And I think that they'll look at pick 60 and say, okay, the difference between, Mike Green and JT Tuimoloau is not that big, whereas the difference between Tyreek Williams and whoever you're getting at 60 would have been significantly larger. So with that being said, take a breath, relax, enjoy the NFL draft. root for your favorite players, root for the NFL rivals to take bad players, and just enjoy the ride. You can grade it all when it's done. You can have your opinions, of course, but let Brad Holmes do his job. He's done a good job through the last 4 years. He's not doing a bad job right now, so let him continue to work. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments below your biggest draft crush for day 2. Who do you want the Detroit Lions to take? Do you want them to trade up? Do you want them to trade back? I love to hear everybody's opinions on where the Lions should go from here. But one thing is for sure, Brad Holmes is going to do what he does. He doesn't care about the NFL mocks, doesn't care about the NFL media. He's going to take the best players available. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions.